Hey everybody, welcome. We're so glad you're here with us again. We get a wonderful chance to spend more time with our good buddy Jody Salish, who has written this amazing book, Into the Mind. Into the Mind, the elusive dance of joining one to another. Jody, how are you?
I'm great.
That's the first thing I want to ask you. What does the subtitle mean of the book?
Well, it was interesting how I did that. Into the Mind, I had a picture of a heart just to kind of make people go, what? Like, what? That doesn't make sense. And then I added this at the end, and you can read it two ways. How a sociopathic type of person will join your mind to your heart, how they start there, and then they go to your heart, and how it's an elusive dance. They dance with love and sympathy and understanding, and then it's an elusive dance how they join the heart and the mind. And then the second meaning, if you took it the other way, is joining two people to each other.
This book, again, shows you, this is the playbook for sociopaths, how to deal with them, the tips, the signs, the warning signs that they need for people who are demonic and who are out to destroy you. That's what you wrote this book about. So it's interesting, the word elusive. Isn't that very much what the process is with somebody? Whether they're overbearing or this, we're going to talk about that here in a second. The whole idea is they're very elusive, and it's very hard to pin down what's actually happening, isn't it?
Yeah, it takes a while sometimes, and if you're really educated like I am, you should be able to see those warning signs, I think, within a month or two. My last relationship, it took me a long time to really see those signs. And so...
Why was that? Why did it take so much longer with that relationship?
I hate to say this, but he was a heavy pot smoker. And so I think that with the effects of the drug and it kind of calming down his normal personality, and making him more affectionate and nicer and sweeter and more understanding and stuff, it took me a long time to recognize those traits.
The signs are there for all of us. We've all been through it, where you feel like it's okay, but you also get this sense that something is not right at the same time. Mm-hmm. And there's all these little signs that when you're able to step back and put them together, you can see that this person is not interested in being nice to you at all. They're trying to destroy you.
Right.
They're using love,
mm-hmm.
quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
They're using what feels like affection and warmth and kindness to get close to you so that they can destroy you. It's just that simple.
Yeah, one of the things that recently hit me with my last relationship, because after you get out of the relationship, you see more. Everything comes to light over time as you face it. And one of the things that really struck me recently was that if he had a problem with something, he could come to me and talk to me openly about it. And then we would talk, and either I felt defensive because I felt like it was an untrue statement, or, we would talk through it. But one of the things that he did was not allowing me to have my own voice. So if I had a problem with something and I'd come to him with it, and it would just be a small thing like, hey, could we work on this together? It wasn't really an acceptable thing.
It was dismissed summarily, and your desires for any kind of constructive change in the relationship weren't accepted.
Right.
And see, again, we all go through this. Anybody who's alive has been manipulated by somebody and pushed into it. Someone who's very selfish, who's only interested in themselves. But again, they disguise all of it so well.
So well.
And that's really what this book is about. It's a mission statement, if you will, for you to say to the world, look, there is demonic presence in this world. There are people that are being manipulated by the devil every single day, who you think are great people, who you work with, who you're dating, who you're, hanging out with, who you're in business with, that are really contract agents for Beelzebub.
It is unbelievable how good of actors. You think they're so sweet, they're so godly, they're so charming and wonderful and really loving, and they're good with children, they're good with pets. Old people, it's unbelievable how good of an actor they can really be. They can fool anybody. So don't think this is just for, the abused person who's been through this. This is for everybody in your education.
Because, look, there's physical abuse, but there's also emotional and spiritual abuse. There's that slow torture that comes with somebody mm-hmm. who's manipulating you, who steps forward and then pulls away, mm-hmm. steps forward and then pulls away, who kind of hangs around the peripheral of your life but doesn't really want to come in, and when they do, it's only on their terms, their way, and then you have to live with that. And you want the relationship, you want to be in love, so you ignore.
Or you tolerate
or
certain behaviors.
Right, but you even sometimes will ignore it. no, that's not happening.
Yeah,
You know,
that's all
actually,
in
if
my
somebody
head.
else would point it out to you, you would deny, no, that's not happening. But it is, you know, it really is. All right, so look, I want to get into some of the chapters here because it's powerful stuff what you wrote. This book really can change your life if you read this, especially if you're someone who is used to being, I don't know, taken advantage of, I guess is the right word, you know. So you have in chapter 15, overbearing or neglectful. So what does that mean? They're either one or the other?
Oftentimes, it's not always. So that you can't say there's always blanket statements with people like this, but oftentimes you're constantly running around trying to please them and do everything because you love them and you want to do those things. But then you find that they're taking and taking and taking, or they're demanding, and so you're constantly like, well, am I doing enough? Am I doing enough? Am I pleasing him enough? And then as a way of withholding love, they will neglect you and make you reach for them and chase them harder.
Wow, but that's all a concerted effort. That isn't just, you know, laziness in that moment. That's a concerted effort to be neglectful on purpose so that it makes you start to wonder if you're doing enough, if you're being a good enough in this relationship.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, idealization phase. That's a phase?
Yeah, so there's a few phases that they will start off with the idolization phase where they treat you like you're the most special not charming, they're the charming ones. The most special person that they've ever met that's so great and so special and so extraordinary. And so they idolize you like you're something different than everybody else.
And again, that's all part of the grooming. That's all part of the process of getting close to you, of letting you slowly let down your guard. So now they know where to exploit, they know where to attack, they know where to hurt.
Yeah.
And so all that's for a reason. It's all done for a reason. So they either and sometimes they could be overbearing for a little while, and they're up on you, and then just when you think that's what it is, then they switch, right? And they become neglectful.
It's a punishment.
It's a punishment. Wow. But again, at first they're making you feel like, you know, they're Prince Charming. Like you can't imagine anybody ever treating you this well.
Right.
But that's not what's going to sustain. That's not what's going to wind up being.
It's not going to continue because eventually they're going to give up those efforts, and you're going to have that role reversal, where you have to be that extra person for them.
Wow. And for most people that get caught up in this, and again, ignore the signs, push through even though it's ridiculous, even though you know you should just get out of there, but you don't, you stay. It's because you wonder if you're worthy, is really what it comes down to. I guess this is what I'm worth.
Right, yeah. Well, they make you believe in your own worth, whether it's good or bad. They break down your worth or they build your worth up. So they're the ones that you're going to for your own self-worth.
All edification, affirmation, everything, you're going to them for all of it, which was by design. They've slowly, over time, brainwashed you into believing that's where you have to go for your nourishment, for any kind of emotional support or spiritual support. But that's not, that only gets you further into their web, you know?
Or they also alienate you from your friends and family or the public. So even just going out to, you know, have a dinner or something, you're feeling awkward around other people because, you know, you're looking at somebody too long, or you're too smiley, or you're too friendly to people that you shouldn't be. And so you end up being closed in as a person and not able to express yourself. And one thing I realized, another thing that's a good sign of whether or not you're in an abusive relationship is your smile fading. And over time, you realize you're not laughing as much, you're not as joyful, you don't have that center of peace about you that's driving you. Your smile vanishes.
It's such a key indicator. It really is. So a big part of the book here, chapter 16, changing our paradigms. You are worthy. That's what you're trying to tell people with this book.
Yeah, that they're bigger than their situation, their belief in themselves. They are worthy of an actual, real, loving relationship.
That's right, and they don't have to stay there and take it anymore. After a while, you get stuck in it for so long. You literally believe this is what you have coming to you for whatever you've done, whatever you perceive you've done. So this is your punishment now, and that you're supposed to stay there and take this punishment from this person. You actually begin to believe that almost that Stockholm syndrome, where you fall in love with your captor, right?
Yes.
It almost becomes like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think I mentioned before, I talk about Stockholm Syndrome, and it's exactly that, where you actually idolize your captor as somebody who thinks for you, or acts for you, or protects you in this weird godlike fashion.
Yeah, meanwhile, they're quoting God all the time and pretending they love you still. And there's every time you think you got them figured out, they have a new method of manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
They have a new way to turn your head all around again. So now you're spinning again. So you can't really focus anymore.
Yeah, the longer that you subject yourself to that, the worse you will be. And then over time, there are triggers in life that will trigger like PTSD emotions, type stuff that you're reacting or you're crumbling under simple pressures or just simple things from somebody who has over and over and over.
So in other words, the trauma lasts even past the relationship.
A long time,
When the
yeah.
relationship's over, there's still going to be triggers. They're going to bring up the post-traumatic.
Yeah.
And you're not even, most times you're not aware of the reaction you have at that point.
Until it happens.
Until it happens.
Yeah.
And then afterwards you can look back at it and go, oh, I
Yeah.
see.
Well, I had those reactions. I was super angry and volcanic reactions type of things, very controlling. I became the abuser because when those things happen, it's like a hairpin trigger. And you react out of fear or control or anything that might be bubbling up from those past hurts.
Well, what I would imagine also happens is, once you get free of it, you don't want to ever be in a position where you're vulnerable again, where you might be the one getting victimized again.
Right.
So you become the alpha.
Yeah.
So that you don't have to be the one that's being victimized. And you put on this layer of strength that actually turns into almost like emotional and spiritual bullying to the rest of the world because you're so guarded, you're so making sure that don't ever happen to you again.
Right.
Again, that you become a different person.
I did that.
Yeah.
I was that person.
And then there's the smile gone forever now at that point.
Oh, yeah, because I hated myself.
Sure. But that happens, though. It happens to so many people. Once you go through that cycle, it's so demoralizing. Once you find out the real truth about that person, that they're really just a manipulator and everything was a lie and everything was meant to destroy you, everything was meant to hurt you, it's so demoralizing, it's so frustrating. You mourn all that time that you wasted. You're angry
At yourself.
At yourself. You're angry at them. You're angry at everybody around the whole situation. And you don't have anywhere to go with that anger. There's no because that person doesn't
Right.
give a damn. You're not going to be able to go back and yell
Right.
at them because they
Right.
could care less.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
futile, too.
It's futile, yeah.
It's completely useless because they like to know that they are going to entrap you back into their web, so any communication with them after the fact is going to harm you more, I promise.
And anytime you maybe scream or yell or tell them off, all you're doing is letting them know that it worked, what they were
Yeah.
trying to do. All
Yeah.
you're giving them is the satisfaction of knowing what they were trying to do to you worked, you know?
Yeah.
And so, again, there's nowhere to go at it afterwards. So you just have to start to self-heal. You have to determine past. And that's part of what you got in this book, too, for people.
Yes, actual physical self-healing, that you can beat those triggers and those traumas and those things that will, I mean, if you're as abused as I was, mentally and emotionally as abused as I was, those traumas are lifelong and you cannot escape them. I mean, a lot of people resort to pharmaceutical drugs or they become alcoholics or, they seek outside help. But I have found actual physical healing naturally.
And it was through your relationship with God. It was through your understanding of all this, coming to a grips of it.
Mm-hmm.
Then also writing this book, so now you could start helping other people.
Yes.
It was cathartic for you to get all this out on paper, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to do it, but I did it for your benefit, for everybody's.
Because you tell all the stories here. You tell about everything Romeo did to you and all the other. I mean, you don't hold back. There's nothing left out here. You pour it all out.
It's all in there.
But that's the way they're going to be able to learn. That's the way the other person, the person who reads this book, can avoid going through all that you went through. That's the point of the book, guys. Is if you can read this book and see all the tips, all the things that Jody went through that she's so honest about, so transparent about here in this book, you could then avoid those situations. Or at minimum, if you've been through them already, you can heal, learn how to deal with those triggers, learn how to, emotionally and spiritually recover.
Yes.
So that you can turn things around.
Yes. Absolutely.
You have a chapter here, chapter 26 of the book, The Final Plea. What does that mean? What's that all about?
I close out the book with me pleading to the reader to to change their circumstances if they're in it. If they're not in it anymore, how to help them seek that healing, and how to have a relationship with God and to chase Him, go all in like I did. It's me, pleading with the reader in many aspects.
And letting them know, too, that there is a good, healthy relationship out there for them, too, once they're ready and once they now have that self-worth back, where they feel who they are again. They know who they are in Christ.
Right.
It's not all's lost. You're not going to be hopeless. You're not going to be lonely and miserable for the rest of your life. You can overcome all this. That's important for them to know.
Yes.
That's what a big part, again, of this book is about. Giving you the tools that you need to overcome. Giving you the understanding of what actually happened. In a lot of cases, you've gone through it now, and you know the basics of that you got taken, that you got pushed around, that you were exploited and beat down emotionally and spiritually by someone who was working for the devil himself. You know that much, but you still don't know everything. You don't know how it all unraveled. You don't. So how the heck did that all happen? How did it get that out of control? Again, if you read this book, all the triggers and signs that Jody went through, they'll recognize them. They'll recognize them, they'll appreciate it, and they'll be able to, it's good now to read the book for that purpose, because it allows you to see, A, you're not the only one, right? And B, okay, now I understand what actually happened. It's a lot easier now to get past it, right?
You can put context to it, so you understand it better, so it makes more sense in your mind. It's not fair. You didn't deserve that, but now you can understand it in a psychological kind of context.
That's exactly right. That's perfect when you said that. It's now in context that you can look at psychologically and say, oh, wow, this was so intense. This was so deliberate. This was so maniacal. There was so many stages to this. This was so elaborate, and you can start connecting things. And so many things that didn't make sense to you during the course of the relationship now will make all kinds of sense to you.
Yeah. And again, so yes, it's for the person after, so they can understand and process all of how everything spiraled so far to where it got to, and it's also for the person before abuse. So when you do meet that person, you will recognize those signs eventually and go, wait a second, red flag, I gotta bail on this because I know what's coming.
Right. We don't bail sometimes too because, again, lack of self-worth. We don't believe that there's anybody else who'd be interested in us. We don't believe that we're worthy of a good, loving relationship. We don't believe that we can do it. But what we don't also realize is that the spiritual warfare is going to hit us no matter what. The enemy is coming after everybody. He doesn't have favorites. He comes after everybody. And what people don't understand, Jody, and I just had this conversation with somebody before we taped, all right? Somebody just told me that there's no, I said, there's the worst spiritual warfare the world has ever known. I said to the person, that's ridiculous. There's no demonic presence on earth. Oh, okay, live that way if you choose. If you want to live that ignorant, if you want to have your head in the sand that much, you're so afraid of that concept that you bury your head in the sand, there's not much we can do other than say to you, look, it is true, all right? There is demonic presence all throughout this earth. And people you know and love, people who were good people, but who had a weakness, who had been through stuff themselves, and who were easy prey for the enemy, are now under his control. They are either completely possessed or oppressed by the devil and are living their lives day to day at his command.
Yeah.
That happens right around us.
Yeah. And actually, that reminds me, I start off the book with talking to the reader, not as if you're a Christian or just as if you're a human being. You could be atheist, you could be a non-believer, you could be Jewish, Hindu, Christian. It doesn't matter who you are. This book is for you, and there are definite evidences and signs throughout it that you will be able to understand that there is a demonic force on this planet.
You have chapter 27, it's here. Evidence in black and white. This is where you went and got scriptural backup for what you're saying about the devil, right?
Yeah, so I have some scripture throughout, and you can definitely feel the Holy Spirit tugging on you as you read this. Not just my heartaches and pains, but I do, it's another closeout of the book, and talking about what God says the devil looks like, and it's stuff that you just absolutely cannot deny. And the person, if you've met them once or twice, or like me, I mean, I probably have met 10 sociopaths, and understanding the characteristics that God lays out of the devil himself, and then correlating it to that person that you've met.
Okay, guys, what I want you to remember is this as we're watching this. This book is something that has the guidebook here for everything that you need. All right? You're going to live in this world. You better get used to the fact you're going to be under attack. There is going to be people that are just out to hurt you, sociopaths who are out to hurt you. But in your afterward, all right, I love this. You finish strong. You finish with saying to them, hey, there is hope.
Mm-hmm.
That's the final of this book. Mm-hmm. You're not just giving them the doom and gloom. You're saying
Right.
to them, no, there's real hope to get
Yeah.
through and past this. Tell me about that. Tell me about how important that is.
Well, there's one thing that really inspired the afterword, and it's a specific natural product that over time completely like gave me my life back. And I literally felt like it was regrowing the brain cells that had been so severely destroyed from the trauma that I endured. And I really it was so highly impactful and powerful for me and my journey and my healing that I point the reader to get educated about it.
Okay. Do you want to share what that is?
It's called Protandim, and I'm a distributor, so at my website you can go and you can look it up. There's a video on there. It's an old school, like 2005 ABC Primetime investigative report on the product. And so the product's been around for a long time. Not a lot of people have heard about it, but it is absolutely life-changing, works at the cellular level to repair pathways within your cell. Anti-aging, anti-inflammatory, turns on antioxidant response system. It's crazy. It's a lot of scientific stuff that I've learned that I get really coolly like passionate about. I love it, but only because it's drastically impacted my life mentally, but it's also drastically impacted my life and other people's lives physically.
The very last thing on the back of the book says, my plea, and this is Jody writing, is that you only gain knowledge and insight from these chapters as tools for your story and lead a life that is fulfilled and purpose-driven. It is so hard to be fulfilled and purpose-driven when we're being pulled down, when we're being made fun of, when we're being pushed down, when we're being told we're not worthy, that we're not important, and you're just twisted and turned in your whole life. This is what you went through several times.
Mm-hmm.
Several times.
Yeah.
And again, even after you had good awareness, you still went through it one more time.
Yes.
Okay? And so, again, for those out there watching, those listening now, you can't feel bad that you got taken. You can't, blame yourself, because all of us go through it. I went through it. Jody went through it. Everybody's been through it. Okay? You're going to go through it. There's no way around it. But feeling bad, feeling guilty, feeling sorry for yourself, feeling down, that's the worst things you can do. We need to turn it around and be positive. You need to know there's still hope.
Yeah, and understand that it's not always a relationship. It could be a boss, it could be a coworker, or even a pastor like I went through, or a best friend, or your child.
And it also can be that you find your way through giving back, through writing a book, through changing your career, by making impacts in other ways, and just being able to see differently and clearly now. Read your book and see all the signs and stuff so you avoid it for the future, and you know and understand so you have closure from what you went through also. So what's the big goal? What's next? What do you see happening next? This is more than just a book. Into the Mind is a movement as far as I'm concerned. It's a vocation and a calling for you. Where do you see it going?
Everywhere. I see it going literally worldwide, because the message I know is God's heart to get this out in front of people and to expose the devil in the earth, because God's trying to protect you. God's trying to show you that amount of love that only He can offer you, and He wants your best life possible for you. And so I know these people are literally everywhere you turn. And it is my mission to teach every single person that I till the day I die, I have to teach every single person that will listen to me.
I wish I met you a couple of years ago. I could have used your help. But you know what? Again, I'm going to look forward, so is everybody else. I see for you speaking all over the world. I told you, I see you having your own TV show someday where the audience members ask you kind of about their lives, and you're able to kind of show them some things and show them the signs and help them and stuff like that. I could see you all over the place. I see several books too. I see this is the first of a series, and there's opportunities for you to help people in so many different ways.
I hope so.
No, I know so, because
That's what I'm here for.
Well,
why I'm put on the planet.
why you went through everything. Okay, you knew that as a kid. You say that at the beginning chapters, you knew you were destined for something. And you went through quite a lot to get there. But you then take all that you've gone through and you put it into this book. That's impressive, guys. As you think about that, it takes a lot of courage to do that. And you did that, all right? And now you're trying to help other people. And you know the enemy doesn't like that either. You're going to be coming after you. So again, it takes quite a bit of courage. So I see this going in many different directions. I really do. Because everybody's been through this. And if you've been through this, right? If you've had a sociopath who's broke your heart or destroyed your life or just totally unraveled everything, then you really need to get this book, right? Because it can show you all the things that happened to you. And you can now have closure from it. And you can avoid making those mistakes in the future. And if you haven't had that happen to you yet, you've been lucky, God bless you, okay? Then you need to get the book also so then you can see the signs, you can see the things coming in advance before they happen. So guess what? It never has to happen to you. You can avoid it. You can see the sociopath coming and stay clear, okay? They're very beguiling. They're very charming. They're very personable. They come in looking real handsome or pretty. They know exactly what to do to catch your attention. But again, if you have the playbook here, you have the understanding of what the devil does, you can avoid that pain, a monstrous amount of pain that you can avoid. And that's cool. You know that if that happens even just a couple of times, or it's going to happen lots of times in this book, but just even once, that's a pretty cool thing. To be able to stop somebody going through what you went through.
That'd be awesome. That's my hope. I mean, I got educated so dramatically with so many different people because of this and because of you. So there's a lot of different examples of the different people. So it's important to read it cover to cover because I mentioned a lot of different people that I had to know, either my family, my pastor, a best friend, a boyfriend, different people that I had to meet for your benefit because they're all different. And like I said last time, they're all cut from the same cloth.
Sure, but this is like a textbook that you just not only read once, but then you have it and keep referring to it. This is something as you go through life and you meet new people and you have new encounters, come back again, look at the book, and go through it and try to just check off some of the things and say, okay, that person's, not a sociopath. Oh my goodness, that person is.
Yeah, remind yourself over and over because you need reminding.
Yes, you do, because the devil's not going to stop. He's maniacal. He's a feckless thug. But again, we know that he has no power. He only has the power we give him. And we also know that Jesus has already won the battle for us. The victory has already been achieved. And so, yes, evil does permeate this earth. But God has put people like Jody in place to come along and, again, protect us. Show us what the devil really is all about and put an end to this pain once and for all. So, guys, I want you to go to the website, www.intothemind.us. I want you to also go to the Facebook page. All the videos are there. We've done 3 videos now where we're explaining this book. And I want to go back to the origin of it. We talked about how, in the very first one, you and I, we talked about how this was going to be hard. This was going to be the biggest, most important part of your life. And everything you went through, though, is going to have value afterwards. All the pain you suffered is going to mean something once this now gets out there and helps people. In your prayer with God right now, what are you praying for in these weeks and months to come as we now get this out there in front of everybody? What's your prayer for this?
And there's a few prayers. One is that that people get the book in hand, that they actually read it cover to cover, that it blesses your life. But also, for myself, I'm praying for as much spiritual hedge of protection as possible because I know what's coming, and the devil's not going to want this out in the world. He's not going to want that light shine on him. And I'm the one that's exposing him in a big way. So anybody who wants to pray for me anytime you want to, I will definitely take prayer over the hedge of protection around my life.
This means something, guys, and this book has the capacity to change lives. It has in it the playbook of what the devil does when he's being a sociopath through somebody, to destroy, to hurt, to have his way with people and pull them down, stop them from fulfilling their divine destiny. And, in the end of it all, God is always right there for us, and God gives us all the tools we need, including somebody who's been through it, who's now willing to put it out there and share with everybody. So I want you to get this book, guys. And I said at the beginning,